So as I say, the media response to the shooting has been filled with lies and untruths and half-truths. And what it really is about is folks in the media demonstrating how much they care. This has become the game. And it's not a game in the sense, none of this is really a game. But this has become what the media do. What the media do in the aftermath of a shooting is they demonstrate how deeply they care. All the late night hosts go out there and talk about gun control, even though a simple note of sympathy would suffice. They decide that they become experts on gun control. Members of the media go out there and talk about how much they care, because in American society, for some odd reason, we have decided that we can judge whether you are making a quality proposal by the level of how much you care. This is stupid politics. The level of how much you care has nothing to do with the decency, strength, or truth of a proposal that you are making. But nonetheless, these emotional pleas continue from the media. There's a commentator named Kavanaugh on NBC saying that the argument against gun control is legitimately over. There is no more argument against gun control because of the shooting.
The argument that gun safety laws don't work it's jumped Shark Week. It's gone. Yeah. Look at these mass killings. That argument is gone. We need to have reasonable laws, not take away anybody's rights. Everybody's got to work together, or we're making the Second Amendment a suicide pact for all of us, our children, the mall, the school, the college. This is crazy, and we can do better.
Okay, that is ATF Special Agent Jim Kavanaugh, law enforcement analyst. Solid law enforcement analysis there. Reasonable gun laws that don't violate anyone's rights. Why, that sounds just magical. Now, what the hell are you talking about? Like, really, make a proposal. Put it on the table. Let's discuss it. But don't give me the reasonable gun laws and then don't actually propose a gun law. Right? You can't do that. That's not fair, it's not right, and it's not true. It's just foolishness. And more than anything else, it's designed to put people who are in favor of gun rights on the defensive. Oh, you're unreasonable. See, if you disagree with Jim Kavanaugh that there is a case against gun control, then that means that you're unreasonable. It means that you don't care. It means that you're a bad person. This is what I said to Piers Morgan years ago after the Sandy Hook shooting, that he stand on the graves of the kids of Sandy Hook in order to promote his political agenda. Unfortunately, members of the media still play this game. If you cannot assume good intentions on the part of your political opponent, you're never going to be able to make a deal. You're certainly not going to be able to come to any sort of conclusion. It wasn't just Kavanaugh. Don Lemon on CNN made an emotional plea for gun control after the school shooting.
So just forget politics here. This is about lives, the lives of all Americans. We need to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. Everyone agrees with that. People who oppose gun control will say today is not the day to talk about it. And you know what? They are absolutely right. Because the day to talk about it was weeks, months, years, or decades ago. And yes, of course, we also need to make mental health a priority in this country. But guess what? We can do both. We can do both of those things at the same time. If we don't, we have no one to blame but ourselves. This is America, people. Don't forget that.
Okay, yeah, I got this is America. I mean, Don, I like Don, but I mean, come on. Yes, this is America. Guess what's in our Constitution? A Second Amendment. That's part of America. And this idea that we're all sitting around wailing and gnashing our teeth over stuff over meaningless slogans. The stuff should have been done years ago. Make your case. Make your proposal. I don't understand. Do you have a secret proposal? Is it like Trump's foreign policy on ISIS that he wasn't going to reveal during the campaign, or Dick Nixon's proposal on how to end the Vietnam War in 5 minutes? Like, what's your proposal? We've been around. I'm waiting. Put it on the table. Let's talk about it. But we're not getting any of that. Instead, we get we cannot accept this. Right? America's better than this. Whenever people say things like America's better than this, it's so irritating, because the suggestion is if I disagree with your general proposition on policy, then that means I don't think America's better than this. I think America's worse than this. I think people deserve to be shot. He wasn't even the worst person on CNN last night. That was Philip Mudd. Philip Mudd is the national security analyst, counterterrorism analyst over at CNN. He teared up, and then he started talking about, we cannot accept this.
I have 10 nieces and nephews. We're talking about bump stocks. We're talking about legislation. A child of God is dead. Cannot we acknowledge in this country that we cannot accept this? I can't do it, Wolf. I'm sorry. We can't do it.
Yeah.
Ups.
Okay. Do you think we all don't feel like that? You think we all don't feel like that? We cannot accept this is such an obnoxious statement. Of course we can't accept this. Who are you implying can accept this? Are you implying that a bunch of us who own guns accept this? We're the ones who want to stand out there and shoot this bastard before he enters the school. Are you suggesting that those of us who think that the best solution to this would be armed security are accepting this? On the contrary, okay, I went to a Jewish day school here in Los Angeles for high school. It's a high school called Yeshiva University of Los Angeles, or Yeshiva of Los Angeles. It's changed its name a couple of times. It's right next to the Simon Wiesenthal Center. Every month, probably once a month, we had to evacuate the school because of a bomb threat, because it's a Jewish school, and that means there are anti-Semitic bomb threats on a pretty regular basis. While I was there was a guy named Buford Furrow. Okay, Buford Furrow was an actual white supremacist terrorist. Okay, I graduated from ULA in 2000. He, in 1999, shot up a Jewish community center in the West Valley here in Los Angeles. And before he did that, he drove past our high school. He drove to the high school. He stopped at the Simon Wiesenthal Center. He thought about going in, and he saw security guards. He wrongly assumed they were armed. They were not armed, but he wrongly assumed that they were armed security guards. And he thought to himself, okay, I can either walk in here and get my ass shot, or I can go to a place where there will be no security, like the JCC, and then I can shoot up as many people as I want. He ended up killing several people, and the point of the story is that security at schools matters. For the left, which has constantly suggested that government stimulus would be had by creation of government jobs. How about this? How about the government, local government, state government, how about they pay for security at their schools? How about we make sure that there are armed guards, several armed guards on every school campus? This is not too much to ask. We have armed security guards at malls, for goodness sake. Why shouldn't we have them at schools where we have a bunch of sitting duck students? The most valuable commodity our society has, kids, and they're utterly unprotected. And you stick a gun-free sticker up there and you think that's going to somehow dissuade people from walking on campus with a gun? I don't understand why this is even mildly unreasonable. How is it unreasonable to suggest that maybe we ought to have armed people who are qualified with a gun standing there to make sure that other armed people can't walk in the school? This guy walked in there with a full-on rifle. He wasn't concealing it. He was banned from campus. And when people say, well, you can't do identity checks at the door in school, why the hell not? Why can't you do identity checks in school? We had one at my high school. This idea that, oh, you're militarizing the school. You know what? The security at my daughter's preschool is really good. Militarizing schools, you know what militarizes a school? Somebody walking in with a gun and murdering students. That militarizes the school. You know what doesn't militarize a school? Having a security guard that everybody knows their name and they're friends with, who knows how to use a gun and is capable of doing that in case a bad person walks on campus with a gun. This notion that you're going to protect students by doing none of that, that they're fragile psyches. Let me tell you something. What's more fragile than a student's psyche? Their body. And this idea that students are so fragile psychically that if they see a man with a gun in a uniform, or if they see cops on campus, or if they see a security guard on campus with a gun, not a security monitor with a stupid radio, an actual gun, if they see that person, this is going to disturb them. It's going to make them unable to function in a normal society. What kind of stupid crap is this? What absolute utter nonsense? Even when I went to middle school, there were security guards with guns. In Israel, every school has a security guard with a gun, or multiple. Are the kids from Israel somehow really screwed up because they saw a gun? Only people who are idiots think that the mere sight of a gun traumatizes a child so much that they'll never recover. You know what traumatizes a child? Being shot. You know what traumatizes a child? Seeing their classmates shot. You know what traumatizes a child? Hiding in a closet, texting their parents that they might be about to die because there was no one on campus with a gun to stop a bad man who walks onto campus with a gun. So listen, I'm happy to look at gun control proposals if they are actually specific so we can determine what is true and what is not. What I am not willing to do is entertain the idea that if you just say gun control, I'm supposed to bow to whatever you fill in that blank check with. And meanwhile, I'm supposed to pretend that it's not idiocy not to have armed security guards on campus. Just stupidity. Now, I thought there was something else interesting that was tweeted out yesterday. Michael Ian Black, who's a comedian, he tweeted something out about how there is something deeper than the gun problem happening in the United States. I think he's half right and half wrong. Here's what he tweeted, quote, "Deeper even than the gun problem is this. Boys are broken. Until we fix men, we need to fix the gun problem. The last 50 years redefined womanhood. Women were taught they can be anything. No commensurate movement for men who are still generally locked into the same rigid, outdated model of masculinity, and it's killing us. If you want to hurt a man, the first thing you do is attack his masculinity. Men don't have the language to understand masculinity as anything other than some version of a caveman because no language exists. The language of masculinity is hopelessly entwined with sexuality, and the language of sexuality is hopelessly entwined with power, agency, and self-worth. So men, and boys before that, don't have language for modes of expression that don't readily conform to traditional standards. To step outside those norms is to take a risk most of us are afraid to take. As a result, a lot of guys spend their lives terrified. We're terrified as being viewed as something other than men. We know ourselves to be men, but we don't know how to be our whole selves. A lot of us, me included, either shut off or experience deep shame or rage, or all three. Again, Men are terrified. Even talking about this topic invites ridicule because it's so scary for most men and women. Men are adrift and nobody is talking about it and nobody's doing anything about it and it's killing us. I think that he has a point that boys are broken. I think that's true. But his suggestion that what is happening here is basically that men have been told that they ought to act like men, that this is corrupted manhood, is nonsense. If there was a collapse in manhood over the last 50 years, you have to ask what changed. What changed in the model of manhood was the definition of manhood. Manhood used to be about being a protector. I don't have to redo the sheepdog speech here from American Sniper, but that's what being a man was about. That being a man, I will say the main message. The main message, and if you haven't seen American Sniper, a very famous speech by one of the characters, the main message is that men can either be wolves or sheepdogs. They can either be victimizers, or they can be the victimized, or they can be the sheepdogs who ensure that the wolves are kept at bay. The job of men was to protect innocence. That was the #1 job of men. Not job number 2, not job number 10. Getting laid was not high on the list. Playing video games was not high on the list. Protecting women and children was #1 on the list. It's why when the Titanic went down, the idea was women and children first. That was a good thing. Men are supposed to protect. That is a man's job. And I'm not talking about shortcomings in some of the men at the school, because that was not happening, okay? There were real men at this school. One was a football coach who was murdered yesterday. Coach Aaron Feist was initially said to be dead. Then he was thought to be alive. He passed away this morning. Apparently, he jumped in front of the bullets in order to stop students from being shot. It's really, really sad. He worked as a security guard at the school for at least 8 years. And apparently he was, when the shooting broke out, he jumped in front of the students and was murdered. Okay, there are men who are willing to be protectors. But the question is not about those men. The question is about people who become shooters. Boys particularly are they either create or they destroy. This is true from the time they're children. They're either building blocks or they're knocking the blocks down. This is what boys do. That means that boys have to be trained from a very young age to build and not to destroy. They have to be told not only not to destroy, but that it is their job to build. And the way that you build a society, the way you build a community, the way that you build a safe world is with men who protect human beings from other bad human beings. Make men into heroes. Don't make them into feminized versions of what you wish men were. Okay, you can't get rid of manhood. You can't get rid of masculinity, nor would you want to. A society without masculinity is a society that's bound to the eventual degradation of civilization. What you actually want here is a manhood, a proud manhood that stands up for women and children, that turns men into heroes, that makes men aspire to be heroes, that doesn't abandon boys and tell them they're wrong for feeling that aggressive impulse. Men are aggressive. It's what they do. Channel that aggression towards something good and you get great civilizations. Channel that aggression towards something evil, you get evil civilizations. But it must be channeled. It's something we ought to keep in mind as we move forward in these discussions, that something is happening on a societal level that is really negative and really nasty, and it goes deeper than the kind of weapons that are available on the market.